This is my first Boost conference, a virgin, if you will. I'm new to the world of after-school learning. I'm a classroom, not just a, but I'm a classroom teacher. I'm a classroom teacher at a school that doesn't have an after-school learning program. It's kind of a neighborhood that maybe people would think doesn't need it because it's kind of a affluent sort of neighborhood. But Rodrigo here, you oversee this kind of stuff at some of our schools that do require those programs.
So I manage and oversee all the after-school programs in our district. There's 16 in total, close to $4 million worth of grant money that we fund. Not a huge big deal compared to some of the players that are out here, but you know who I'm really excited to see? My man over here, Mr. Carlos Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez,
principal of John Adams Middle School, right?
In South Los Angeles, right? Is that what you would call the neighborhood?
Yeah, South Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so my man has been a part of the after-school movement for a hot minute. With the inception of after-school all-stars in LA, we got to see some really awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really curious to pick his brain today and see what his first Boost experience, your first Boost experience, what that's going to turn into.
So this is your first Boost experience too?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Okay.
Been invited for the past 3 years, but this is the first time that I actually made it out.
But it's not your first foray into after-school programs?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Mine neither. There's a guy here that just came by. We all hugged him. Ray Trinidad. We both worked at this school called Monroe Clark Middle School.
My man, Ray.
In the early 2000s, Governor Schwarzenegger made a really big push and put a lot of money behind after-school programs. So we actually had a model program for at least Southern California. I don't know. It might have been a model program for the state.
It might have been for the state, yeah.
Because the governor himself came down and visited and touted our program.
What were you doing at the time, though, at that school?
What was I doing at the time?
Yeah, at the school.
I mean, I was a math teacher.
There you go.
I was a math teacher. But I recognized the integral relationship of the regular school day with the after-school day. It was all one package. It was not a separate day. So I'm interested to get your feedback as a principal. How do you see after-school programs in your whole school program?
Well, look, just to take it back, when I first became a teacher, I was a teacher's assistant and a teacher at the same school that I became assistant principal. When I first met the All Stars, and I was very skeptical about after-school programs because I always saw them as just a place where they just babysat kids. Throw a ball, you play some sports, and you just do minor activities, but nothing meaningful. So I didn't. We saw it just. It's an extension, but there's nothing much going other than let's take care of kids for an additional 3 hours. So when I made up with Diego and Edison became a school that adopted Arnold's All Stars, and I saw the change in the shift, then I became a bigger fan, and then I just wanted to be part of the team and how I can be supportive of what we're doing so that we can continue seeing the students as an extension of the school, but it's the same child that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the mindset at many different schools with whether it be teachers, administrators, they always see after school kind of like the stepchild.
Right.
And it's not. We're dealing with the same kids that we're dealing with in the day, and they own, the school and its services. And it's up to us to provide, those resources, those supports, whether it be during the school day or beyond the school day, to ensure that the students have an opportunity to grow. Having conversations around, seeing how can we differentiate, how can we ensure differentiated groupings of students, what are the needs of this group, what are the needs of this different group, and then trying to tailor a curriculum, a class that will cater to the needs of those specific kids was the challenge that we were looking at. So we were looking at how is it that we can embed and basically camouflage and in a way just have students learn and grow based on academic content, but with fun activities, which is something that's not done during the day. That we're still trying to break that during the day. How can we make instruction meaningful for kids during the day and beyond the school day?
Okay.
And that's huge, though. The disguised learning that we used to talk about in 2002.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's not, it gets forgotten in 2016. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same principles of like how do we transform interventions, traditional interventions into. We had this conversation earlier today, right? Like how do we switch interventions into it being something fun, like building a model car and then learning math through that. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds really tough.
It does. I mean, but again, that's what the beauty of after school is, man. We take those tough problems and we solve them, and we don't hold ourselves to the measure of like achievement. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something we talked about earlier today in our workshop. We had a pre-conference today about young boys and men of color and the Sisters Creating Change. And one thing that we brought up was like something that we're scared of is like after school losing its identity, right? And we get so caught up in this idea of after school being the remedy or the silver bullet for achievement, right? And it's just like you're trying to do what the core day couldn't do in 6 hours. You're trying to do it in 3. That's the wrong metric. I don't even want to play that game. You know what I'm saying?
So, forgive me if I'm wrong. First conference, if I'm wrong, call me wrong.
No, you're good. You're good.
I almost feel as if after school an after school program really shouldn't be geared towards any kind of remediation. It should be something, as you said, meaningful for the kids, something that they want to do after the school day. Okay, if they're lacking in credits, there's a whole other vehicle for that.
Yep.
But after school, in my opinion, it should be something that they really want to do themselves. I want to bring in some conversation that Terry Gonzalez had brought up earlier, that he had some kids step to him like, there's nothing for us here. We want to create, we want to do a metal band.
Right.
And he said, all right, I got this. I think I can make this happen.
Right.
That's not going to happen at every school. Kids coming to you saying, this is what we need.
No.
You got to be like Terry was and ask, well, why aren't you involved in after school? What is it that we can provide for you that's meaningful? Right? So how do we get there?
I think the one thing that Terry did that steps out in front of everybody is like he asked the kids what the fuck you want to do. And I apologize for being crass, but that's just the way I am, right? Like you got to go out there and ask the kids what the hell do they want to do. And if I'm not mistaken, Terry, the what they said to you was, your program is fucking whack, mister. And
it's just it's missing an element.
Yeah, no.
It's missing an element for us.
Hey, kids, why don't you want to participate in our program? It's fucking whack, mister. That's exactly what they said to Terry. And he goes, so what is it that you want to do? And they said, we want to learn how to play a rock band. We want to learn how to play metal. And they did that. And so, I mean, I think that is, again, we can gloss over all the other bullshit. What he did was, in that moment, he became an ethnographer, and he learned about the students that he's serving. So he found out what they were into. He found out what they want to do, and then he provided a space in which they could do it.
I mean, so do we have a set? 5 classes that kids just automatically like, and we provide those?
No,
do we ask them in the beginning of the school year, what is it that interests you? I mean, how do we build a program so that it launches? Immediately and it serves students.
So
what do you say?
But we're still talking about components. We have the regular school day and beyond the school day. Right. And we're talking about so many innovative things that we could be doing beyond the school. My biggest question is, why aren't we doing that during the regular school day too? Why are we constrained to this box that we're going to have to ensure, for example, the APG requirements and all these different things, when the kids don't necessarily want to do that?
Right.
Where is the plethora of opportunities and different electives that the kids have? Because we've already went back, at least in my neighborhood schools, we already went back to, you need extra math and you need extra English. And that's the only thing that we can support you with, right?
Right.
Because
you suck at math, you need more math.
Yeah. Instead of having 1 hour of math, now you need 2 hours of math. And you're not getting it in an hour. So, and you're getting it from the same teacher. So how can you get it in 2? You see?
Right.
So those are still fundamental flaws that we're looking at. We need to come back and rethink the way that we deliver instruction, and how do we make it meaningful for kids? How do we make it relevant and meaningful for kids? Not just during the day, beyond the day too. Because again, when we're talking about innovative things, I'm hearing Terry and these DJing things, which I'm excited to see and how it works, because kids will flock to that. If you have a class now where the kid can be producing music, learning how to DJ, learning things that they can take home and still continue their own learning, at home, without necessarily a person being there teaching them or anything, that's when we get real growth.
because now you know, lighted that match. Now he's on fire. He's going home and he's looking for more.
Right.
You know, and you don't have to be there just delivering it. And that's what we're looking for during the school day too. We're looking at ways as how is it that we ensure that the students are not only learning, but how do we ensure that they continue to learning beyond my classroom?
Right.
You know, that they are interested in learning more just because of the substance that you're giving them.
The exposure that they got.
So are we talking about skills as far as teachers, what they're doing, their arsenal, or are we talking about courses? Are we talking about adding to VAPA classes? I mean, because obviously, you know, there will be systemic pushback on that one. Like, we ain't got no money for that.
Right.
We ain't got no money for your audio
No.
engineering class.
But see, the problem is, this is where, and again, this is a fundamental flaw of the core day not being able to communicate with the after school or extended learning day, right? All those opportunities of, you know, musical engineering or whatever, all that stuff could be handled in the after school space. Principals are just not creative enough, program leaders are just not creative enough to make those connections. And that's, I put that is solely on us as TA providers, as us as veteran after school practitioners. Like, we need to be able to communicate that, like, all across the board. Listen, this is what you can do, X, Y, Z. This is how you can do it. This is how you can bridge the connections between, this is not being offered during the core day, offered during after school. Use this money to do that, right? Use this pot of money to teach this, do this, do that, right? So there's a very few amount of people who know those ins and outs, but we're not doing a good enough job of communicating that to the masses.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because that audio engineering or increasing VAPA classes, what you just said, that's something that after school can solve in 1 year.
For less money?
For less money. You know what I'm saying? And it's
That's
not
important, right?
And but it's not about, like, whenever I hear the words less money, we're automatically associating it with, like, less quality, and that's not.
I'm not. I'm not.
So I get leery of that. You know what I'm saying? But
I have a feeling that after school can get more bang for their buck.
Absolutely. And I think in more cases they're going to get more bang for your buck. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is you have someone who's there, maybe part-time, but they have a full-time mentality.
Yeah.
Right? And they're super passionate about what they're doing, and this, all I want to do is teach kids how to DJ. That's it.
Anytime that you're looking at securing funding for after school, somehow it has to be tied to the, you know, something that has to do with education, some type of curriculum. And you know what? If the kids just want to play a damn guitar, you should just let them. You don't need to tie it into anything. If the kids want to paint something, do graffiti, whatever, just allow them to do it. Allow them that creative side. So it should be, you know, because then when you start putting these constraints and saying, well, the way you have to teach this is now we have to use this book or this curriculum for film. You know what? No, I don't want to use that.
Right.
I just want to learn to play the damn guitar. I have to buy an additional teacher just to ensure that my kids have a choice. And sadly, right now, there's only truly two choices, which is they either have music or band or digital media and arts. So those are the choices that they have. But I want to ensure that my kids have that. And the reason I have to buy another one, because the ratio of student to teacher is 46-1 for any type of an elective, right?
Yeah.
That's the norming that we get. So I have to say, really, are you going to sit around? You know, in a band class, you might have 46, right?
Yes.
It's cool with that. But then I also have a mariachi program, and I pay it's two different periods with, he only has 16 kids. And all they're doing is mariachi, right? They like it. We have to tailor their schedules so that they can ensure that within those two periods, they're taking the mariachi class. And then I bring them in the morning at least 3 days a week.
Teacher.
Huh?
Who's the mariachi teacher?
His name is Mr. Salgado.
Yourself?
Salgado. No, his name is Jose. But see, the reason that I do that is because I asked the kids, you know, I was talking to the kids, and I asked them, I said, do you feel that you need more time, that we can grow better? Because, you know, they were doing a show, and I said, I think they can get much better. And he says, well, I need more time with them. Okay, so let me give you the time. Let me give you the time.
Before school,
you know?
program, yeah.
And so if the kids really want it, like, you know, I was telling them, if you're going to give them yummy, they're going to come and get the yummy.
Yeah.
You know? And so now the kids are doing it. You see them growing, and they enjoy it, and they have better opportunities.
Right.
You know.
But see, and I want to highlight something that I think it goes overstated or understated.
That you want the yummy?
Overlooked. No, not even that. I like yummy. I like the yummy. But I think what goes overlooked, dude, is like the fact that this dude's a principal and understands and he has the after school IQ to go, yeah, I think we would give them more time, blah, 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 right? That not every principal thinks in that capacity. And I think that's what we need to highlight. And I think that's what and I've had this discussion with more than one person about this idea of the site lead being the most important person on the program. Great, awesome, right? I'm not going to disagree with that. But in order for a site lead to be effective and to be the linchpin that they need to be, the principal needs to be on board. And the principal needs to be the one who's going to be your champion, who's going to be the one who's going to speak at the board meeting. They say, hey, we need our after school programs, we need X, Y, and me, whatever. And Mr. Gonzalez is the prototypical dude who we understand. Like, he knows exactly what needs to happen in an after school program, and then let him do it, right? And I think that there's a lot to be learned from that the lessons that this dude has, man. If we could clone him and have 4,500 after school programs with this dude as a principal, forget about it, right?
But you also need to look at the changes, though, that need to happen with the organizations that offer after-school programs.
Okay.
For example,
I get it.
You come around and you got 1,300 kids, and you're saying, well, I can only, service 120. Well, that's 10%. Are we really making an impact with 10%?
But see, here's my thing. We talked about this earlier too, man. It's like if we switch, we have to be able to flip that conversation upside down. And it's not, I have $150,000. How do I serve 110 kids? It's how do I serve as many kids as possible after school, voluntarily, right? And by flipping the narrative that way, that's going to force you as a principal to leverage other dollars, leverage other staffing to okay, these kids are coming in after school voluntarily. They're going to build relationships with my science teacher who's also doing rockets. They're going to build relationships with my humanities teacher who's also a DJ. And they're going to do all these different things. They're all here voluntarily. Mm-hmm. You're pushing these teachers to do what you love. Do what you love. And then the kids are going to follow that. And then as a result of that, kids are going to buy into what you're talking about. They're going to build a relationship to what you're talking about. I get you. I dig you. Now, learning about, 8th grade humanities isn't so bad. You know what I'm saying? Learning about pre-algebra isn't so bad. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's a piece that we totally fucking miss. You know what I'm saying?
Now, one of the things that was really important in the early 2000s at that school I worked at, Monroe Clark Middle School, we had a model after-school program. One thing was important was that the head of the after-school program, he was just here a little while ago, Ray Trinidad.
Ray Trinidad?
He was a part of the principal's cabinet.
Right.
And somehow that ensured that after school was also a part of the school day. The kids knew what was coming after school during the school day. Now, it sounds to me like your menu of after-school offerings is kind of short. You're kind of limited on that. So maybe your after-school person, it may not even be on your campus. It may be somebody from the district that comes by every now and then.
But it's different. It's different. I think the way LAUSD has it set up, it's a little different.
And that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, right. Because the way Monroe Clark was set up, Ray he was a full-time employee.
Yeah.
Paid for it. All you got to worry about, even Diego, when he was at your site at Edison, you're a full-time employee. All you have to worry about is creating a fucking awesome program
at that one school.
At that one school.
And be creative,
and that's important.
And that creativity was encouraged.
That's it. That's it. Where's the sky? The sky's the limit. Just go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it was.
We not only had the DJ, and we didn't have just the video games. We were taking kids. We were taking kids to the beach to go surfing. Yep. They had the skating going on there. And this is the early 2000s. We were trying this kind of shit. And it was working.
And it was dope.
It was keeping the majority of our kids on campus after school, willingly enjoying themselves.
And that recipe is still, you can plug that recipe in to this day. And you and I sat in your classroom and tried to figure out, how do we get back to Monroe Clark? Remember that? We sat there for at least 3 hours trying to figure out, how do we get back to this glory days of Monroe Clark? And what we found out was this. One, you need to have a full-time person, right? You need to have a full-time person that's like a Ray Trinidad, that's like, all you have to worry about is after school. Between the hours of 3 and 6, your primary job is making sure that kids have an amazing experience. Come hell or high water, the kids are walking out of there like, oh my God, I just had an experience, right? Like they were in church, right? That's the first piece. Second piece, there's some sort of like, kids are they're learning something, right? And through like experiential learning. And that's where the 6-week classes come through, right? We're building model cars, we're learning whatever we gotta do, then we exhibit it, some sort of exhibition of learning, right? There has to be some sort of purpose, right? We talked about that. And then the last piece was, and I think this is the piece that we flat out miss. There needs to be a fucking champion on campus that is the principal or the superintendent that says, this is a viable program to serve as an intervention or whatever. This is a viable program to keep kids off the street to accelerate student achievement.
Not just viable, but vital.
Vital. Yeah. I would agree with you.